Okay, so we are going to continue our coverage over Donny Cates Thor, and we do pick up with Volume 6, Blood of the Fathers. Now, this is really more of Donny beginning the process of wrapping everything up that he has been working on when it comes to the character of Thor. Now, with that being said, when it comes to Volume 6, it does pick up where Volume 5 left off at. At the end of Volume 5, Thor was able to gain access to his grandfather's vault, War's vault. And once he was able to walk inside that vault, well, he found something, and matter of fact, what he found, it shocked him, but at the same time, it scared Odin. And remember, Odin's soul is currently trapped inside the hammer of Thor. Either way, at the end of Volume 5, we were left to wonder, what did the two characters see once they were able to walk inside the vault? And so getting into Volume 6, we kind of find out that inside the vault was some kind of time storm. Now, when it comes to this time storm, Thor is able to see everything from the past, but also everything in the future as well. Now, it's not going to be him being able to remember every single thing that he saw in this time storm, but it does give him access to see what could possibly come down the road for his life or other people he cares so much for. Now, that is the moment where he is confronted by a future version of Lausea. Now remember, Lausea is the daughter of Odin and Freya, but also the daughter of Surtur. Either way, when she does appear, well, she's like a young adult, and that right there tells Thor this is not his sister from his time. She's from the future, because in the current time, she's a baby, but she says that she was sent back in time to tell her past version of her brother, Thor, to do one thing: check on the dead, because his future self told him to basically do that as a way to accomplish some kind of time loop. And so with that being said, she disappears, and you have Thor wonder, why in the world did his future sister tell him to check on the dead? What does she mean by that? And so you have Thor go over to Valhalla. Now remember, Valhalla is where most of, I say, good souls go to, but really is more the idea that if you die in honor in battle, your soul will go over here to Valhalla. Now if you die without honor, well, you go to hell. Either way, when it comes to the souls of Valhalla, they're no longer there. They have technically disappeared. Now the thing is, when Thor does arrive, he is confronted by Jane Foster. Now remember guys, she was Thor, but after that she became a Valkyrie. And matter of fact, her goal is to guide souls over into Valhalla. But the thing is, there are no souls here. And without the souls being here in Valhalla, well, the actual dimension of Valhalla is going to begin to fall apart. And so this is Jane telling Thor they have to work together to figure out what happened to the souls that should be here in Valhalla. And so they begin their adventure to hopefully fix everything. Now you do have our two characters go back over to Asgard. Now when they do arrive, it's really more of them kind of talking about the idea of how they're going to solve this new problem, but at the same time it's kind of like an update for us to remind us that, hey, you know, let's not forget the Bifrost is destroyed, and usually the Bifrost is used as a way to give someone the ability to travel between all 10 realms. With the Bifrost gone, unfortunately, nobody can easily travel across the 10 realms. Now with that being said, when it comes to the Bifrost, it was destroyed by Thor in a storyline we did not cover called Banner of War. In that storyline, Thor turned to a Hulk, went crazy, and smashed the actual Bifrost. Now, with that being said, you then have our two characters realize if they want to figure out what's happening to the dead, the souls, and why the souls are not going to Valhalla or possibly hell, they have to go check up on the Queen of Souls. And of course, that would be Hela, the daughter of Loki. Now, when Thor and Valkyrie arrive in Hell, they realize two things. One, Hell is not what it used to be. But on top of that, Hela nor her wife are nowhere to be found when it comes to being in Hell. And so you have our two characters wondering what happened to Hela and her wife. Matter of fact, what happened in hell. But the thing is, we kind of find out two creatures, which unfortunately I cannot pronounce their actual names correctly, are now in hell. And that should not be happening. What I mean by that is these two giant raven monsters usually sat on the outside of hell. And the reason why? Because they are well known for feeding on the dead, feeding on the souls of the dead. And so Hela kept them on the outside of hell for that particular reason. But the problem is right now, they're inside hell, literally, and eating on the bones of the souls of the dead people in hell. And that is a huge problem. Now, Thor does not want to fight them. Matter of fact, Thor just wants to go ahead and find Hela and hopefully figure everything out. Unfortunately, with Odin's soul being inside the hammer of Thor, Odin's kind of like, you are being a coward. Go up there and show them that you are the All-Father of Asgard. And so you have Odin technically force Thor and also Valkyrie to get into a battle against the creatures. But once he is able to actually defeat the creatures, and that is the moment where you have Thor be confronted by Nidhogg. Now, Nidhogg was a giant dragon that used to live in Niflheim, and I really hope I pronounced Niflheim correctly. Either way, he was better known as the Eater of the Dead. He usually consumed the souls of those who have fallen in battle. The thing is, Baldur, of course Thor's brother, has supposedly killed off the monster, but unfortunately he was brought back to life, and with him being brought back to life, he's more machine than actual dragon. But the thing is, he's still the eater of souls, and so you have Thor begin the process of trying to fight against the actual dragon. The problem is though, you have Thor throw his hammer, and guys remember, the soul of Odin is inside the actual hammer. Either way, when he does throw his hammer through the dragon's body, once the hammer comes back to Thor, Thor realizes the soul of Odin is no longer there. We're left to believe that Odin could most likely be dead now. But then, to close on the first chapter of today's video, we jump over to Latveria. Now guys, you already knew why we gotta jump over to Latveria, because at the end of Volume 5, it was told to us another character is gonna be very crucial for this storyline right here, and that would be Dr. Doom. And we kind of find out why Hela is not in hell, and the reason why? Because Dr. Doom has captured Hela. Literally has her trapped in Latveria. Now, when it comes to Dr. Doom, he's that guy who usually gets what he wants. What I mean by that is, Dr. Doom will beat you down until you basically give him what he wants. If you don't, you're gonna die or continue to get beat down on. Now, when it comes to Dr. Doom, he realized that when it comes to Hela, he can get his answers to his questions in one particular way, torturing her, but not physically, mentally. And what I mean by that is, homeboy brings out Krenilla. Krenilla is the wife of Hela, who's also from Asgard. The thing is, Krenilla is a ruler of a small country in Asgard. So for a lot of fans out there, they believe Asgard is just Asgard as a whole. They don't realize that there's small patches of towns in different parts of Asgard that does not really belong to the Asgard kingdom. So for Krenilla, her particular area, her country in Asgard's realm, does not look at Thor as their king. They're their own kind of country, and their ruler is Krenilla. But she did get married recently to Hela. The problem is though, is Dr. Doom currently using her as a way to torture Hela to get the information that he wants from her. Back in hell, you have Thor still freaking out over the idea that his father's soul is no longer inside his hammer. He's now wondering if his father is truly gone. And if that is true, then now it is Thor saying, I have to go bring my father back. I feel like my father could most likely be trapped inside Nidhogg, the dragon, who's better known as the Eater of Souls. And so you have Thor begin the process of trying to attack Nidhogg, hoping that once he is able to actually defeat the dragon, he may be able to get his father's soul back as well. But then we have to jump 16 years in the future. Now, when we do, we actually pick up with Lacia once again. And remember, we saw the future version of this character at the very beginning of this video, and we currently see her right now going to an area that she is not allowed to go to. Matter of fact, her brother Thor is still the king of Asgard in the far future. But the thing is, when she does go into this area, she does have a particular weapon, and that weapon is the glaive that belongs to Corvus Glaive. And this is her bringing him back to life. Because remember, as long there is a piece of DNA of Corvus Glaive somewhere out there in the universe, then the glaive is able to bring him back to life. And so there was a small piece of him left out there, and with the glaive she was able to bring him back to life. Now, even though the glaive is able to kind of bring life back into his cells, well, unfortunately it cannot bring life back into his soul. And so this is kind of like a clueless glaive who's kind of wondering what in the world is going on right now. Getting back over to Thor and also Valkyrie, Jane Foster, they continue to fight against the dragon. Now, while fighting against the dragon is really more of Thor realizing that the dragon is trying to escape. And the reason why? Because the dragon is full of souls. Now, remember what I said earlier. When it comes to the dragon, it's more machine than dragon now. Originally, it was just your, not regular dragon, but your usual kind of dragon, you know, the usual body parts of a dragon. Magical, not really more machine-like. But the thing is, this dragon is more machine-like than usual. And so right now it's trying to leave and go back to its owner. And so you have Thor and also Valkyrie trying to follow the dragon and see where in the world the dragon is trying to go to. But getting back over to Doctor Doom and Hela, you have Doctor Doom being able to get the answers that he has been looking for. So for example, Doctor Doom wants to know how in the world can he be able to contain the souls that he has broken. Now, this could tell us that he is most likely the reason why there are no souls in Valhalla, but no souls either in Hell. Either way, you have Hela tell Doctor Doom, if you're trying to contain the broken souls that you have broken, you need the amber from the galactic seed. Now, the galactic seed is one of the many reasons that gave birth to the main Marvel universe. But on top of that, the amber comes from the galactic seed. It'll be a great hardened shell to kind of use as a way to trap the broken souls that Doctor Doom has broken. But here is the thing though, because you have Doctor Doom tell us, the readers, that he is currently trying to use the souls as a way to accomplish some kind of ritual, to basically pick up where Bor fell off at. Apparently, some point in time, Bor failed when it came to a certain kind of task. And it's Doctor Doom saying, I am going to complete what Bor was unable to complete. But then we have to jump back 16 years in the future. Now, when we do, we pick up with Lacia questioning Corvus Glaive. She wants answers to the idea of, why did he kidnap her 16 years ago for? Like, yes, she knows that he spilled her blood to open up the vault of Bor, but what was he looking for? And he says he was looking for the Black Infinity Stone. Now, we already know it was not in the vault at all. And so she's kind of wondering, what do you mean by that? Because I looked in there, other people have looked in there, and unfortunately, nobody knows what was inside the vault at all. So why in the world are you telling me that you went in there looking for something that was never in there in the first place? Now, that is the moment where you have Thor walk in and you have Thor say, leave him alone, because unfortunately, I took his soul. Because remember, when it came to the last volume, Thor's magic went kind of a tad bit crazy. He was unable to control his magic, which led to him basically killing off Corvus Glaive. Except here, we kind of find out he also took his soul. And so with his soul being gone, Corvus Glaive is unable to kind of give the answers that Lassia is truthfully looking for. Either way, you have Thor say, it's about time for us to begin a time travel. We have to go back in time and kind of help out different points in times to make sure that this future does actually happen. And so he does send Lassia away first, but then he stays behind to supposedly deal with Corvus Glaive. But getting back over to the present day, we pick up with Thor and Valkyrie arriving in Latveria. And when they do arrive, this tells our heroes that Nidhogg is currently working for Doctor Doom. The thing is though, when they do arrive, you have Valkyrie see some kind of castle in the sky. Now, Thor cannot see it, but she can. And that tells her it's some kind of afterlife that Nidhogg is taking all the souls to. For example, Odin's soul. And so you have Valkyrie say, I'm going inside the castle to hopefully get the soul of Odin back. But on top of that, you need to stop Doctor Doom. And so you have our two heroes split up to hopefully accomplish both goals at the end of the arc. But when we get into the third chapter, we actually pick up with Thanos. Now you have to remember, because in the last volume we covered, we found out that Thanos had apparently fought against Bor. Now we kind of find out the way he was able to do that was to go back in time, because Thanos was looking for the Black Infinity Stone. He heard that Bor had created it, and so he was hoping to find it and actually grab it. The thing is, we already know that Thanos never did find it, and so it's kind of like, okay, we're just seeing Thanos getting ready to go back in time to fight against Bor. But what happened to the actual weapon that Bor created, the supposed Black Infinity Stone? Back in Latveria, you have Valkyrie, Jane Foster, realize that she may need some help here when it comes to getting all the souls who are supposedly trapped in this afterlife castle that is right above, well, Doom Castle. And so you actually have Valkyrie, Jane Foster, say, go and get Runa, another Valkyrie saw in the last volume, to come over here to help her get all the souls out of here and back over to Valhalla or possibly Hell. But getting right back over to Doom, you have Doom tell his workers to continue to mine more amber from the actual galactic seed. Except you have Hela wondering what is he trying to accomplish. Now to Hela, she feels like he is trying to just gain the powers of a god to recreate the universe in his own image. Now this could be a callback back to Secret Wars in 2015, but hey, we don't actually know. But he's all like, no, I'm not trying to use the powers as a way to make myself a god. What I'm trying to do is pick up where Bor had failed. And with his vault open, I'm able to actually accomplish what Bor could not actually do. But then getting back over to Thor, Thor is still trying to fight against the people of Latveria as a way to get over to Doctor Doom. Now let's not forget, Doctor Doom also has Doombots, and so we currently see him just throwing out a bunch of Doombots right at Thor as a way to keep Thor distracted long enough so that Doctor Doom is able to finish what he is trying to actually finish. Now, once you have Thor trying to get through the crowd of people, try to help them realize that their ruler, Doctor Doom, is truly bad, you didn't have those raven creatures from hell come back and say, dude, you're being tricked right now, Thor. He's trying to keep you busy long enough to accomplish what he is trying to accomplish. And so you have Thor finally realize and head over to stop Doom. But getting back over to Thanos, we do see him currently arriving in the past to get ready to fight against Bor. Now Bor sees Thanos and he realizes that Thanos is not from his time. Matter of fact, he knows that Thanos is from the future. But you have Bor say, okay, you know what? What I have to do right now is to basically make sure this man right here does not get his hands on the Black Infinity Stone. And so this explains why when it came to Bor, he locked this certain area up when it came to Niflheim. Because remember, back in volume 5, we found out Bor had a hidden vault that was in Niflheim, but the vault was hidden in an area that no one could access in that realm at all unless you actually knew the way. But this is happening before he had sealed the area away. And so Thanos is trying to get to Bor before Bor is able to lock the area away. But getting back over to Thor, Thor was able to get inside Castle Doom. Now, once he does arrive, his goal is to stop Doctor Doom, except Doctor Doom gets away by opening up a portal. Now, Thor wants to follow Doom, but you have Hela say no, because what Doom did was he basically used Asgardian book as a way to create some kind of spell, and that spell is still currently going on. And so is Hela saying you must pick up where Doctor Doom left in the spell, because currently he's telling all his people in Latveria to jump off a cliff. If they do that, their souls will be more fuel for Doctor Doom to use as a way to accomplish his certain goal. And so you have Thor being able to pick up where Doctor Doom left off to tell the people of Latveria to not kill themselves. Now, after doing that, you have Thor wondering why isn't Hela chasing after Doctor Doom? And apparently she says, I can't do that right now. My main goal is to go ahead and help the dead, to help the souls who are technically lost without my help. But at the same time, she's kind of like, what Doctor Doom is doing might not truthfully be a bad thing like you think it is, Thor. But getting back to the past, we do see Thanos currently trying to fight his way over to where Bor is at, and possibly where the Black Infinity Stone could be at. Now, when it comes to Bor, he's trying to tell his sorcerers to go ahead and try to seal off this area, to get rid of the Black Infinity Stone, to do all these different things to keep Thanos away from it. Except Thanos is a very powerful creature. I mean, this dude is powerful. And so Homeboy's just wrecking the forces of Bor to get close to his actual vault, to get close to the Black Infinity Stone. Except when you have Thanos arrive, well, he does not find the Black Infinity Stone. He finds a baby. Yeah, that's right. The Black Infinity Stone is no longer there. Is now a baby, a child. But getting into the 4th chapter, we actually do pick up with Doctor Doom fighting against Hela. Now, this moment right here takes place in the past to just show us real quickly that Doctor Doom was able to literally defeat Hela in her own realm. But right after he was able to defeat her, she did seem somewhat concerned for him. And Doom's kind of realizing that she kind of cared for him for some unknown reason as he travels back in time. But getting back over to Thanos, you have Thanos really thinking about the idea of killing off the baby, because Thanos is the type of person to sacrifice a child to get what he wants. And currently, he wants to get rid of the child to get the Black Infinity Stone. Now, while he is trying to do that, you have Doctor Doom arrive. And this is Doom trying to convince Thanos to not do what he is trying to do. Now, this is going to be very crucial for a huge retcon for a certain character. Now, with that being said, you actually do have Doctor Doom trying to convince Thanos that there are different ways that you could use the Black Infinity Stone down the road, but not like this. Except for Thanos, he hates the idea of waiting to accomplish something that he always has been trying to accomplish. Now, while you have the two men arguing with one another, you have Thor and Lucia watching over Doctor Doom and Thanos. And you have basically Thor tell Lucia to get the child while Thor tries to fight against Thanos and Doctor Doom. Now, here's the thing though, because this is future Thor, not present day Thor. This is future Thor, who's saying we have to basically keep Thanos and also Doom busy long enough so that you, Lucia, are able to get the child and get far away, because this child is going to be very crucial for the entire family of Thors. And so while you have Thor begin the process of trying to fight against both Doctor Doom and Thanos, and you have Lucia trying to get her hands on the baby, well, now you have Bor arrive. So now you have Thanos from one point in time in the future, Doctor Doom from a different point in time in the future. You also have Thor and Lucia from even farther point in the future, and now you have Bor here in the past, in the present moment in the past, arriving and realizing that there's different characters that he should not be seeing at all, including his own grandchildren, Thor and also Lucia. Getting back over to Jane Foster, who is currently in the afterlife that was right above Doom Castle or Castle of Doom. Either way, while being in that afterlife, she finds two souls. Those two souls are Bor and also Odin. But you have Bor arrive first, and you have Bor saying, listen, it seems like somebody is trying to do a ritual that I tried many years ago. And the only reason why they're trying to accomplish this is because the vault is open. So the spirit of Bor realized the vault is now open, means that someone who is trying to complete the same ritual that basically Bor was trying to do back then is trying to do it right now. Of course, that could be Dr. Doom. Now, with that being said, though, you didn't have Bor tell Odin, hey, son, I actually met your son, my grandson, once before. And Odin could not believe that. He's kind of like, wait a second. You're my father, Bor, and you're telling me you met your grandchild, my child Thor? When the world did that happen? And what Bor meant by that is that back in the past, when you had Thanos fighting against Dr. Doom and you had Thor trying his best to stop the two men, that was when Bor met his grandson from the future. Either way, getting back over to the battle between Thanos and Dr. Doom, you have Thor and Lausea trying to stop the fighting, but to also get the child to somewhere safe. Now, while you have all four characters on their own thing, it does end up with Thor realizing that Dr. Doom is not really here to try to kill the baby or claim the child for himself. That instead, when it comes to Dr. Doom, he is trying to stop Thanos from killing the baby because he realized who the child will become down the road. And so while you have Thanos and Dr. Doom fall into the time storm, they go to a different point in time. But the child, she grows up to the age of like 13, 14, who knows? Either way, the child has aged up. Now, with that happening, you have Thor and Lausea say they have to go because Thor now knows what's next for the child, what he has to do to make sure this child survives because we need her in the present day. And so with all that being said, you have our two heroes leave. Now, Bor is kind of like, oh, pass, Bor. He's like, you cannot take my weapon away from me. That child is my weapon. I need her. But you have Thor say, look into my eyes, look into the time storm, and realize this child right here is going to become a goddess. And so we have to leave because in the future, we need her around to make sure our future actually happens. And so you have Bor tell Valkyrie what he saw when it came to the time storm. And what he tells her is that what he saw was basically Thor becoming a great king. He also learned a valuable lesson, which was that at first he believed that he was going to live forever, but then he realized by looking into the time storm that is not true. That sooner or later Odin would take his place, and then sooner or later it would be Thor who would take Odin's place. But it's also Bor saying that with those things being, given to me, those images given to me, I realized that by Thor, Asgard finally have a great king because Thor has learned from our mistakes, Odin mistakes, Bor mistakes to make sure that he's a great king for Asgard. And so it's kind of like Donny Cates saying, from here on out, Thor is going to be literally the all-father of Asgard. Odin is gone for good, so is Bor, like none of this going to happen all over again. Thor is now the true ruler of Asgard. Now, of course, this is comics. Sooner or later down the road, Odin will come back. But for the sake of the story, it's really more of Odin is going bye-bye. So is Bor. It's Bor telling Odin, you have to realize it's time for you to also let go and come to the afterlife. But getting back over to Thor, Lausea, and also the child. And by the way, this is future Thor and future Lausea with this child, who we still have no idea who she is just yet. They go over to Jotunheim, and I really hope I pronounced that correctly, the home of the giants. Now, the reason why they're going there because, well, the child needs to meet her father, her adoptive father. And we kind of find out this child is Hela. So the Black Infinity Stone that was turned into a child, well, that was Hela being brought to life into this world. And so Thor realized what comes next for the child. She has to be raised by her father and by her mother. And her father is Loki. For many years in Marvel Comics, we were just told that Loki is the father of Hela, and that is it. It's Marvel saying, yes, he is still the father, but not in the way you are actually thinking. That in reality, he basically took the child in. He adopted the child. And so this is Thor saying, hey, Hela, I want you to meet Loki, your father. And this is past Loki about to become a father to raise Hela. And so getting into the final chapter for today's video, we have future Thor and also future Lausea with past Hela currently watching a past moment that's going on between Loki and Thor fighting against the ice giants. Now, originally they weren't fighting. It's really more the idea that they had a bet going on with the ice giants that involved a horse and also a knife. Now, the horse was very important, and the reason why, because the horse belonged to Odin, but the knife is also very, very important for a very special reason. But you have Thor and also Lausea tell Hela to stand here and watch your father. Watch Loki. He is going to be your father. And matter of fact, by the end of this fight, I'm going to give him over to you so that he can raise you. Because in Marvel Comics, we were told for many years that Hela was the daughter of Loki. This is where she basically becomes the daughter of Loki. But getting back over to the present day, we do pick up with Runa and also Hela fighting against the dragon, the one that takes all the souls. Now, while you have our two heroes fighting against him, it's really more the idea that they're trying to release all the souls the dragon is currently holding. Now, one more time, if you forgot who Runa is also a Valkyrie, but she was a Valkyrie for Bor way back then, the grandfather of Thor. But getting back over to the afterlife, this is the moment where you could say this is Odin saying goodbye to, well, Marvel Comics, the readers, but also to his children. And what I mean by that is he realized that it's time for him to go on. He's kind of like, listen, I've been around forever and ever. I watch over my boys, my daughters, my children have all grown up except Lausea. But I realize that she'll be in safe hands with her bigger siblings. It's time for me to go ahead and move on. And so you have Odin telling Valkyrie, Jane Foster, okay, I'm ready. Like, help me move on to the afterlife. I'm ready to go. But getting back over to the past, this is where you have future Thor and Lausea introduce Hela over to her adoptive father, Loki. Now, when Loki sees Thor, he realized, okay, you are my brother, but you're not my brother from my time. You are my brother from the future. But this is also Loki meeting his future sister, Lausea, as well. Either way, when it comes to Thor, he's like, listen, dude, the reason why I'm here is to give you somebody to watch over, to raise, to basically make her your own daughter. And that would be Hela. And so this is where Loki became a father, because Thor gave Loki Hela to raise. Now here's the thing, because with this moment right here, that means that Loki always knew down the road that Thor would become king of Asgard. It also means that Loki knew about the idea of Lausea, their other sister behind Angela. And so with that being said, Loki always knew a lot of different things, just never told anyone. Either way, you have Thor saying, please, can you take her? And Loki is very down with the idea. Now that leads into who Hela's mother is, and that would be Angerboda. Angerboda was a giant that Loki fell in love with, one of the many women that he fell in love with. And so for many years in Marvel Comics, we were told that Angerboda and also Loki were the parents of Hela. And so this is Thor saying, go ahead, take Hela, raise her as your own, but at the same time, that knife you won in that bet with me in the past, give that knife over to her, Angerboda, as a gift, but to tell her, like, you two are going to work together to raise this child, Hela. And so that is how Hela came into the world of Marvel Comics. But then we get into the moment where we see future Thor and also Lausea going their separate ways, back into their own time. Now, when I say their own time, I really mean more of that We have been following present day Thor. This is not future Thor. The last time we saw future Thor, he said he was going to take care of Corvus Glaive, and that was it. And so after that, we have technically been following present day Thor. Now, here's the thing though, because when it comes to present day Thor, he knew that Hela was the adopted child of Loki. We, as the readers, were never told that until this moment right here. But here's the thing though, because he now knows that Lacia does grow up, become a great strong warrior, but he's kind of like, you need to go back to your time and I need to go back to my time. And so using the time storm, let's go ahead and go back to our separate times. Now Lacia wants to warn Thor about something big coming down the road, but you have Thor tell her, you cannot tell me anything about me in the future at all. Instead, you must go back to your time and spend time with your Thor, and that is it. And so you have present day Thor say goodbye to his future sister. And so getting back over to the afterlife, this is where you have Odin telling Valkyrie one last thing to hopefully tell to Thor to confirm that Odin had officially moved on to the afterlife, because he already knows his son and the other children of his that they're not going to believe Valkyrie that Odin has given up and moved on to the afterlife. And so what Odin did was he told Valkyrie about a certain time him and Thor played a game with one another, and no one else knew about that game except Thor and Odin. And so with that being said, he's kind of like, if you tell Thor about a certain time we played a game, he will know that I officially moved on to the afterlife, and now it's time for him to be the true Allfather of Asgard. And so this is where you have Odin say goodbye. And really, the book kind of ends on that note right there. And what I mean by that is because as soon as Thor comes right back to the present day and confronts Valkyrie, you have Valkyrie tell Thor, your father is officially gone. Like, he moved on to the afterlife. And just like Odin knew his son would act, you have Thor saying, no, it's not true. My dad would not just give up that easily and move on to the afterlife. Except you actually have Valkyrie tell Thor about that game him and Odin played when Thor was a child. And as soon as she tells Thor about that game, that tells Thor she's not lying. That yes, his father is truly dead. His father has moved on to the afterlife, and it's time for him to realize that it's now time for him to be the true All-Father of Asgard. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.